Hey everyone, Leslie Myrick here, interior designer and Nancy Ganzikoffer's Nancy? What's wrong with my face? It's a Monday. Nancy Ganzikoffer's associate business coach, and I'm here today with the lovely Masha Quinn from Content Vertical, and we're talking about copy because that is her magic. Hey Masha.
Hey Leslie, how's it going?
I'm doing well, except for not being able to talk, which is kind of a problem when you're hosting a live
It's all
video.
good. It's
But
it's Monday
we're
after
not
all.
talking about talking today. We're talking about words. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about this. First of all, why do you even, I mean, maybe this is obvious. Why do you need to put personality in your website copy?
Right. So I feel like where we start is with interior designers, it's a human to human business, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not a business to business, it's not a business to person, it's literally a human to human. And I feel like when you inject personality into your website copy, into your marketing, into your just messaging and all of your client facing materials, you are humanizing your brand. You're building
Yeah.
that know, like, and trust factor because at the end of the day, when people hire us, a lot of times they hire because they felt something. There's some type of connection, there's some type of vibe. Like, I do client interviews as part of website copy projects. And every time I
Mhm.
interview designers, clients, and I'm like, well, what was it that made you hire, I don't know, Jane? What was it? And I'm expecting to hear something like profound about, well, it was a service or a customer
Yeah.
process or something else. But at the end of the day, what I hear is like, I don't know, I just loved working with her. She made it sound like she really took the time to listen to me and she really understood my vision and all the things that have to do with personality. So what we end up
Yeah.
talking about is a lot of times is, why did that person hire you? What was it that gave you trust? And a lot of times it is the personality. So I feel like it's so important because a lot of times you land on these websites and you see, great, she's got the credibility, great,
Hmm.
she's got the process, she's got the thing, but like, who is she really? I just want to know, who are you?
I love that because I do think we spend so much time as designers focusing on, like, we want to communicate our process and our services. And yes, those are important things
Important.
too. But
Mhm.
when someone is researching designers or asking for a referral, they're going to want to know, oh, yeah, I loved working with her. She made this so fun for
Yeah.
me and she's a blast. You're going to love her. Or, oh, yeah, like he's very organized and detail oriented. He did not miss a thing. And
Yeah.
those are the kind of things that it is important to share because sometimes they're so close to us that we don't even see them as being like a sales feature, as something that's worth
A
sharing. But
hundred
I do
percent.
think
What
you're right. Personality is they people are buying you before they buy your services.
Exactly, exactly. It's the thing that builds trust. It's the thing that gives your potential clients confidence that
Mhm.
you're going to do the job. I'm going to love working with you. And I feel like designers, it's not like they're not doing that already. I feel like interior designers, a lot of them, because I follow so many interior designers, they already do that on their social. It's just
Yeah.
easier to do that on Instagram, right? When they're sharing about their day, when they're, hey, come with me on site, and they're showing the glimpse into the project and how things are going, and they're talking and people are getting to know you. And that's why you see comments like, oh my God, it looks like so much fun. I was like, oh, I didn't know this is how it works. Because
Yeah.
you're literally opening up to your audience and you're making it feel like they already know you, which is the goal of
Mhm.
the website as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, so there's ways to do that. And if we're ready to go, I can help the audience understand a couple of ways to inject personality into your website copy.
Yes, I wanna hear this because I think there's a way to do it that is still professional, and I that's this is a fear that I hear from people is that they don't wanna come across as unprofessional or sharing too much personal
Yes,
detail.
yes.
So tell us your expert recommendations, copywriter Masha, of how we can inject personality into our website copy.
Sounds good. Okay, so the first, I feel like the lowest hanging fruit is to do that on your about page. Your about page is where you actually showcase who it is that you are. Like I
Mhm.
said earlier, the goal is for them to get to know you. When they land on your website, they already feel like they've gotten to know you. So share a little bit about your history, share what you were before becoming an interior designer, share about your values, share your brand story. Like, what are some of the things that
Mhm.
brought you here today? And I know you just mentioned that it is one of the fears, like they don't want to talk about, because I work with interior designers and we write their about page and they're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about my family. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about the hardship that I had. You don't have to. You can share as much as you want, as
Yeah.
little as you want. It's up to you, as long as it allows your audience to kind of get a glimpse of who you are. Who is Leslie? Like, what makes her special? What is she like
Mhm.
to work with? So when you're sharing, and there are ways to do that on your about page. You can do like a fun Q&A, like here's the, my favorite type of chocolate, or the travel destinations, or your favorite food or a drink or a book, or things that, I don't know, make you tick. Or maybe
Yeah.
it's a little bit about your story, like how you grew up. Maybe you spent your days with your mom at, like, I don't know, antique markets, things like that, that help you. Is like, oh yeah, me too. So you're giving your
Yeah.
audience to resonate with something, like this little thing that they can relate to, or a little thing that can kind of open you up a little bit. Is like, oh, okay, she's not just like this awesome designer with an amazing streamlined process, but she's also this human who likes these simple things or really cool things. It makes
Yeah.
you memorable as well.
That I think is so important. It makes you memorable. It allows you to stand out just by being you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole idea, right? Like, we just
Yeah.
want to show up a little bit more authentic. And like, think of it this way: if you had like 10 different tabs open on your screen, and
Mhm.
you're researching designers, and I get it that, most of our clients come from referrals, but they will check you out. They will go to your website
Absolutely.
to kind of like, okay, I just want to vet it. Like, whatever information that I got from my neighbor, my friend, my colleague, whoever it is, but I'm going to open it up. I'm going to see what it is. And if you had 10 tabs open, would yours stand out? Like, what's the
Yeah.
one thing they're going to remember? Or are you going to kind of blend in with the rest of the designers? So you want to give your audience that thing, that memorable thing. Is like, oh, it's her who, I don't know, read this profound book and that changed her life. Or, that's how she grew up. Or maybe I had this one designer that I was working with, and we wrote her story. And the whole thing was that she had the ugliest house on the street. And that's how her design journey started. She moved into the fixer upper, but it just stood out. It's such a thing. It's like, I had an ugliest house on the street. And then she turned it into something like magical. We
Yeah.
tend to remember these things because stories are a lot more memorable than it's like, than if it's, well, I am accredited and licensed and all the things that I went to school here. And this is the program that great. But none of it kind of is like, ooh, like, I'm going to remember that because that's such a memorable and different thing.
Yeah, I know you talk a lot about, like, features and benefits, and, like, the features are, I have these accreditation, but
Yeah.
the benefit is, like, here's who I am and how we're gonna get along and make this good.
Exactly. And how is it going to help? So, yeah, so
Yeah.
benefits, it's how is it actually going to change my life? It's wonderful that you have all of these things and you provided a list of,
Mhm.
like, kind of like you mentioned, like your resume, your online resume, but like, how is it going to make a difference in my life? So
Yeah.
that's where you bring in that story and personality. So that's your about page. That's number one way of injecting that.
Okay, so start there. If this is something new to you and your website has been very buttoned up and professional, again,
Yeah.
this isn't unprofessional. It's just bringing that warmth, that personality.
Yeah.
It's those differentiators into your copy. So, about page, what do
Yeah.
we do next?
Yeah. One more thing I'm going to mention: you
Mhm.
don't have to show up like non professional, just like you said it, but there's different kinds of personalities. It's
Yes.
not that all of a sudden you're like this loose and all of a sudden you're like, talking about everything and anything. No, the goal is to still showcase you, whatever that personality is for you. So that,
Yeah.
I just want to mention that. But the second thing is, let's now look at your services page. I feel like what I often see on the services page is, here's the process. Here's what we'll help you try to achieve. And this is my 5-step process. And there's a call to action at the end. But what I encourage your audience to think about is injecting a bit of conversational tone
Mm.
into the process. In the way you're outlining your process, help them understand what's it actually like to work with you. If we're going to do this, what is it going to help me do? If we're going to, I'm going to manage your project, yes, that's great. But how? Like, what are you going to feel in
Mhm.
the process? Like, make me understand what's it actually like to work with you. And we do that by kind of being a little bit more down to earth, being a little bit more conversational, being a little bit more informal, because I feel like services page, like you just use the term like all buttoned up. That's what I feel about services pages. Like
Mm-hmm.
all of it, like the home page is usually the fun one, about page is usually the fun one, and then as soon as you get to the services page, it's like fun stops because that's not all business. It's like, this is what it's like to work with me.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. This is my process. That's cool. That's your process. But
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about your process in a more conversational, engaging kind of format, tone, you first of all, you let your voice shine through a lot more effectively. And it's like, oh, okay, she's still cool, yet she has a streamlined process. So that's the goal. So your services page is another opportunity to inject personality.
I like that. I'm thinking about my own services page. I'm like, yeah, but it's dry. It's got what it needs to have, but
Yeah, it's like
now
the
maybe
bare
doing some
minimum, right?
tweaks.
It's the
Yeah.
basics are there, but that's great. The fact that you have it and the basics are there, now you go in and think about it. So, okay, you provided the information, it's all there, it communicates trust, it gives people confidence, but
Mm-hmm.
now kind of overlay it with this next level personality. Like, who am I and how can I showcase more of
Yeah.
me on the services page?
I like that.
Yeah. So that's the second way. The third thing is kind of like a boring subject, but it's your calls to action. And usually they are, let's start your
Oh.
project, let's begin, reach out, contact us. Like it's got so much more potential to inject personality into your calls to action, make them a bit more engaging, get people excited to take the next step. We want to inject a little bit of even that same conversational tone,
Mm-hmm.
like, the goal is to get people excited to take the next step, to encourage them, not to just be as a matter of fact, let's begin, let's start. No, because the call to action is not just that button that we have at the end of each page, but
Mm-hmm.
have like a couple of lines of copy right before the button to get people excited, to get people's like, "Ooh, I can't wait. Like, I'm curious." Even curious, like they don't have to be like 100% ready because they're simply taking the first step to a discovery call. But you want to get them like, you know what? I can't wait. I feel like she's a good fit. This is somebody who I will love working with, and I'm kind of curious to see where it goes. So that's the feeling that you're trying to communicate.
Okay. So do you think, and I want to get clear on this,
Yeah.
should the button itself, should the copy on the button be something more clever and personality driven? Or you're talking about maybe there's like a sentence before the
A
button? Because
sentence
I know,
before.
okay, because
Yeah.
sometimes I know we try to get clever, and I've
No,
always heard that clear is better than clever. So
absolutely not.
So, as an example, Masha, what could the sentence before say? And then what would you want the button to actually read?
Okay, so the button, you're absolutely right on the money. The button has to be clear. It's always clear over clever because people should
Hmm.
not be wondering, okay, where's this button going to take me? Because as soon as I see buttons that are like, I don't know, I've seen some clever ones like the journal instead of the blog or something,
Hmm.
or the designer notes. I was like, I'm always wondering, like, what is that? Where, if I click it, because that's a micro commitment on my part in order to click on that. And I'm like, where is that going to take me? No, the button should be like something, let's start, or, begin your project, or let's chat, or something like that. But right above it can be something simple, something like, I don't know, let's create something beautiful together, or ready to make your home a showstopper, or something that, depending what their goal is, sometimes the
Hmm.
goal is like create the most inviting place where you can host Christmas dinners, or whatever that is, that communicates like, yes, that's what I want to do. And this way you're not only creating a feeling, but you're also
Hmm.
showcasing a little bit of you into those couple of lines. But
I
yes,
like
very
that.
good point. I'm so happy you asked me that. The button should be clear. It's like, okay, how do I take the next step?
Yes. But
What
the
is
copy
what do you
leading
want
up
to do?
to it should have that personality so
Yeah.
that it's a no brainer for them to click it because they're like, yeah, this person gets me. I like them. Let's go.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's what we do. So that's the third way. So we started with about page, then communicating your story, your services page, creating a little bit of a conversational tone, and
Hmm.
showcasing like what's it like to work with you. The third way is the call to action, but the call to action message. And then the fourth one is, I kind of have more, but I'm thinking which one to go with. So let's go with portfolio. So portfolio that's a low hanging fruit. A lot of times, I think you will agree with me, when we go on to designers' portfolios, we see beautiful projects,
Hmm.
maybe the name of the project, maybe the name of the location, and maybe the sometimes that's about it. Maybe a couple of lines about the project, and that's that. So, what I encourage you to do is to actually create kind of like a study or a bit of a brand, a bit of a story about every project. And this way, it's amazing for SEO because there
Okay.
you can mention all kinds of vendors and all kinds of keywords. But it also allows the people, similar to calls to action, allows your audience to really understand what was it like to work on that specific project. And if people have a similar project, maybe it's a Victorian home, maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
a fixer-upper, maybe it's a brand new build, brand new construction. And when you talk about it in a kind of story format, like a case study format, this was the problem. The client came to me with this problem. This is how we were able to solve it, and this is the result. It
Mm-hmm.
creates the stories like, yes, I have a very similar project. So now I know how she handled it with this project.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's something interesting, like sometimes, because when I do talk to clients, as I said, I interview clients as part of their website copywriting projects. And sometimes they say something interesting, like it all started with this one piece of art. And from there on, the design
Oh.
kind of flourished. And it's so interesting because a lot of your audience, maybe sometimes they have things that they're important to them. Maybe sometimes they want to start from scratch and not like they just want to get rid of everything. And it's like a brand new leaf in their life, or and they
Mm-hmm.
want everything new. But sometimes there's this, these sentimental things that they want to hold on to, and you're showcasing that you're able to work with that. And you're also showing that what your clients have and do and envision for their home, you're on board with that, and you can help them make that happen. So I encourage you to think about your portfolio, not just a photo and like basic info,
Mm-hmm.
but a bit of a story for every page of your portfolio.
Yeah, I think that's the key there, is to tell that story, because that in itself is going to bring some of your personality in. And
Yeah.
yeah, and this is
Yeah,
stuff
they'll
that
see how
like,
you talk, right? Because that's another thing. They'll see how you talk, how you communicate.
yeah. And this is something, Masha, that I think is such an asset that you bring to designers with your services, because I'm thinking about doing this for myself and I'm going, I think I'm too close to it. I would need someone's help to kind of back me out and write it objectively. And I
Yeah.
think that happens to a lot of us, where we get hung up on the words and it's like, this project was a busy family and we'd redesigned their living room. And you're like, okay, but what else is there?
I know, but there's a lot of opportunity there, not only to showcase your personality and to kind of bring in the story, but also for SEO. I think for SEO is
Hmm.
important. That's where you can naturally weave those important keywords and the vendor
Yeah.
names and the products that you've used and the different materials. Like it's kind of like it helps the story be a lot more richer when you do layer in that extra information. Oh my God,
Yeah.
look at that onyx wall, or I don't know, like Himalayan salt wall. My husband just built a sauna. Like Himalayan salt wall is in my head for some reason. But it makes things interesting. It's like, imagine having a sauna in your room. Well, this client came to me with that idea because that's what they wanted. Or
Hmm.
maybe it's, I recently worked with a client who was, um, it was so important for her to have like coffee first thing in the morning right in her bedroom rather than coming downstairs. And she built her this breakfast nook right in the bedroom, like that little coffee station, very glamorous. She can go on her
Yep.
little patio. I found it so interesting. I found it's like, oh my God, she got exactly what the client wanted. And
Yeah.
it was so interesting. And I'm hopefully that client will actually build that story because the project just wrapped up. So there isn't a portfolio piece there. But I feel like you've got a story, it's already there.
Yeah.
You just need to tell it. All of your clients already have those stories, you know?
Well, and
So,
not only is that a really interesting, engaging story, that speaks to the fact that that designer A is super high level and custom. Not everyone has a coffee bar in their bedroom, and that she
exactly.
really does listen. So that's kind of like the subtext of that
Yep.
story.
Yep.
It's not just, look, we built a coffee bar.
Yeah.
It's showing other clients, like, I get you and your needs. I know
Yeah.
you're different from most people. And that's the kind of personality stuff that I think is great to weave into your copy
Yeah.
so people get that.
Yeah. But you know what? Another thing that I just thought about, doesn't that open like a world of opportunities, it's like subconsciously for your clients? It's like, if she got that, and it's
Mhm.
not a standard thing that you do, imagine what else you could do. Like a couple of years ago, I worked with, he was not a designer, but he was kind of like a design and build firm. And they built a movie theater on the ground floor rather than on the basement, because in the basement, because
Mhm.
and the story that he told me, he's like, well, this client just didn't want this theater in the basement because everybody has, well, not everybody, I don't have a theater in the basement, but like it's the place to build it in the
Yes.
basement. But he's like, I wanted that whole experience of people coming in, and entertainment was huge. And I don't think they had kids. So it's like they wanted that on the ground floor. So that's another, it showcases the possibilities, and it showcases
Yeah.
your skill to do whatever your vision is. We can make it happen by you telling these stories.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, so that's number 5. And then, sorry, that's number 4. And the 5th one is having a blog. And I know it sounds like not all of us do blogs, but blogs is the easiest. I feel like one of the easiest ways to inject personality, because if you are not doing like 5 shades of white kind of topic, but something a little bit more interesting, a little bit more on brand for you, a little bit something that speaks to your client needs, that's where you can go free and just be conversational, showcase your thoughts on different things, whether it's trends or how you work or your process or the kind of clients that you work with. Here, the possibilities are endless with your blog. And when people read your blog, when they end up on your blogs through Google search, that's amazing because that's SEO. But when they're just wanting to find out a little bit more about you, and you've got these interesting topics, not like the topics that everybody else blogs about, but topics that actually speak to your brand, your personality, and kind of how you work and the kind of clients that you work with, that's the best way to kind of like showcase, that's me, that's what you get when you work with me. So
I like that. And I think a blog takes a bit of the pressure off of the static pages of our website, where kind of like, well, it's content. It's okay that it's, it's going to come every couple weeks or every month or every quarter. And you can maybe be a little bit, I don't say looser, but like more casual. It's less scary to bring personality to a blog than I think it can be to start going through all your main website page copy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't do that is because, well, first of all, it's a lot of pressure. Like I don't even do like regular blogs because I just simply don't have time for that sometimes. But I'm like, sometimes I have this like bank of topics, and I'm like, ooh, I really want to blog about that because that's important to me. That differentiates me from other copywriters, and there's so much opportunity there. But yeah, you're right, it is a little bit looser, and I think people don't do that not only because of time or skill, maybe they don't know how to write well, but also because it's like, well, there's a right way to do blogs and there's a wrong way to do blogs. That's not true. As long as you have a couple of like strategic keywords there, but your other goal for your blog is to showcase you, your brand, the human behind your brand, not just to rank on Google. It's kind of have like a dual purpose. So think about it that way to kind of take off the pressure.
Yeah, I like that.
So that's another way to do that. So there's 5 ways. There's your about page with showcasing your brand story. There is services page being a little bit more conversational. There's calls to action and being a little bit more friendly, engaging, kind of encouraging people to take the next step. And then there is the blog to kind of showcase, your expertise and your voice, because that's where you can do whatever it is that you want to do. So
I love it. So there's lots of options. And I don't want people to get overwhelmed by this. You don't have to revamp everything today.
Absolutely not.
I think blogging, if you already have a blog, that's a great starting point to get a little bit more conversational and personal with your copy. But Masha, I know a lot of designers, words are not their gift. How can you support them in updating their website and making it more memorable and more personality driven?
Of course, of course. So first of all, I don't just write website copy. I interview your clients in order to get the juiciest copy gold. That's when I get to know them, their pain points, what it is that they want, what attracted them to you as an interior designer, what motivated their decision making. So I take those insights and then I communicate that into your brand story. And we build a story, like you said, that's memorable, that sets you apart and communicates your unique value proposition, which is, I think, what you guys and Nancy often talk about. It's like, what is that thing that you're so damn good at, the kind of clients that you serve, and your process, and all of that in a well articulated story. So you can find me on contentvertical.com, or you can follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, masha.copywriter, and that's where you can get a feel for how I do things, because I oftentimes inject personality in my posts, because like I said, on social it's a little bit easier to do, but you can get a flavor of how I do things there.
I love it. Thank you, Masha. We always appreciate your expertise and ideas, and I will maybe be going and doing a little copy editing myself over the next few weeks
I
now
love
that you
it.
got
I
me
love
thinking
it.
about that. And I look forward to talking to you again next month.
Thanks so much, Leslie. Bye, everyone.
Bye.